Welcome to Women Being Loved, a weekly podcast and upcoming book series to help you and other women 35 and beyond attract deep, passionate, lasting love while honoring your authentic self. I'm Tadra, your host. Hello, lovelies. It's good to be back with you again. I have a really good episode for you today. Is this the relationship you're looking for? We're going to explore expectations and what are deal breakers when you meet someone that you are attracted to or you have a relationship with in the early stages. I'm going to share experiences from married women who faced this when they were single, as well as in the early days of their marriages, and they made some interesting decisions. Dolly Parton's husband of 60 years, yes, 60, died recently, and Dolly is a national treasure. I think we can all agree on that. So we're all really sad for her. Hearing that her husband died, I realized, I don't think I ever saw her husband or even knew that she was married. And so I was curious about who is this man that she was with for 60 years, but I never saw him. So I found an old interview where Dolly talked about their relationship. And one really big thing that stood out to me was that she said her husband hated, with a capital H, hated going to industry events, and he hated being photographed, which explains why I never saw the man. Dolly said he did support her dreams. He just didn't want to be in the limelight himself. Now, obviously, this could have been a negative space in their relationship. I'm going to go to award shows and industry dinners and you're just going to stay home? Are you kidding me? But Dolly said that he did try. He came to one event with her and he was miserable. Poor guy. Completely not feeling the vibe. And so she said she never asked him again. He had his own business outside of the industry that he enjoyed immensely. And she said the fact that he was happy made her happy. I need to ask you an honest question. Would you be comfortable going to the Grammys alone for decades? Would you be okay with the tabloids doing what tabloids do, writing that your husband isn't supportive of your career, and obviously the two of you are near divorce because, he's never with you? Would you fight with him every award season, trying to break him down, telling him how upset and how hurt you are that he's not coming to the Country Music Awards? And by the way, you are being honored. Yeah. If you were dating someone, not married yet, but you were dating them, and this came up, would it be a deal breaker? During my book interviews, if you don't know, let me backtrack. If this is your first time here, I am writing a book of true love stories from women who found their greatest loves at 35 or later. It will be out soon, I promise. Okay, back. During the interviews for my book, I asked a lot of questions about the wonderful parts of these women's relationships because, that's fun, right? It's fun to talk about that. And there was a lot of gushing, a lot of, oh, he or she is so amazing, all of their good traits. Many times the love list was mentioned. You know what the love list is, right? Those lists that we keep when we're single and we want these traits or these attitudes or whatever in a partner. We look and say, oh, he or she checks off all these boxes of what I wanted. By the way, I have 2 very good early episodes on this podcast of how to make a love list that gets you what you actually want and need. I'll link those in the show notes. At a point in the interviews, I asked, were there things you didn't get that were on your list? Inevitably, there'd be a brief silence and then the conversation. Well, I really wish, and there it was, that thing they'd imagined their future soulmate would possess or do for them or whatever that hasn't panned out. It could be an athlete's body, a certain income, a love of travel, a love of cats, anything. A woman named Marsha told me this about her relationship with her husband in the early days when they were still dating the first time. Steve's disinterest in spiritual pursuits wasn't sitting well with me. I tried various ways to express how much spirituality was a part of my personal development, and I longed to share that with him. For some reason, that hadn't seemed as urgent when we lived apart. Okay, let's look at another one. A woman named Joan, she was a movie executive in Hollywood, and she told me this about the moment her struggling actor boyfriend asked her to move in with him. I knew Jim wasn't the egotistical actor archetype, but I wondered if I needed something altogether different. An educated, successful man whose paycheck mirrored my own. I also questioned what my peers would think of me if I was seriously coupled with an actor. Not an A-lister, just an actor. How did these women navigate these areas that didn't live up to what they'd imagined they'd have in a partner? Well, first of all, they took the time to seriously communicate during the months or years that they were dating their future spouses. So some of these things surfaced and they were able to decide what it meant to both of them. I highly recommend dating couples share their list of desires in a mate before they get down the aisle. Lady Gaga recently said in an interview that she asked the man she's now engaged to if he wanted marriage and children. She asked him this on the first date, y'all. Okay, in all fairness, they'd been talking on the phone for quite a while before going on this first date. So it wasn't weird. It wasn't like, you meet someone on Bumble or wherever, and then you're like, oh, by the way, do you want kids? And no, it wasn't like that. But Lady Gaga knew that marriage and children were priorities for her. So honestly, she didn't want to waste her time or his if he said, no, I don't want that. I admire her for what she did. Being mature and honest up front at some point, it doesn't have to be the first date, but somewhere near the beginning, when you know that this person is checking off a lot of your boxes, you need to get real about what's important to you. And you have to be honest with yourself about the level of importance each thing is to you. And you have to be a mature adult and not assume the other person is going to change for you. That's never a good plan. Or that they're going to even accommodate you every single time. By the way, we don't always think about other people's lists. Are we living up to what that person wants from their list? My husband, Paul, had a list of attributes that he wanted in a partner, and we talked about that. He was very specific too. And I checked off all of his boxes except one. But it was a very important box to him. He did not want a woman who was religious in any way. And when he and I met, I was very religious. I had worked in ministry. I was steeped in evangelical Christianity for 20 years. But, Paul and I were friends and we were work colleagues before we were a couple. So he got an opportunity to really know me. And he said he saw an open-mindedness in me that surprised him. And I was in this transitional space in my own expression of faith. So going to church and having other people prop up my relationship with God, it was really becoming less and less important to me. And also the way I saw people who I knew were Christians treating Paul it really spoke volumes to me. They were not kind at all when we started dating. And Paul and I had a lot of conversations, a few fights around this whole topic of faith, because I was unsure if I felt like I needed him to share my faith in order to share my life. I knew like what people at church felt about it. They made that abundantly clear. But I also knew that, I'm just going to put it out there. A lot of them had really not so great marriages, and they were just holding on by a thread and pretending that everything was good when it wasn't. And I knew that because of the pressure in a church environment to avoid divorce, avoid it at all costs, we don't care how miserable you are, I stayed in my previous marriage after it was dead, after I was miserable, yeah. And, when I looked at Paul, I saw someone who was living in their everyday life in a way that I assumed only Christians lived. And he's that person. Like, he cares about other people immensely. He wants a society where everyone is respected and allowed to live their truth without fear. And there were just so many amazing attributes and attitudes that I saw in him that honestly, I didn't always see in people professing faith. And luckily, he saw in me someone who could have faith, live out a personal faith without all the trappings that he didn't like. Marcia and Joan, the women I mentioned earlier, both said the men in their lives were amazing in every other way, except these areas where the women were disappointed. In the end, both women did decide that these men were for them despite the areas that didn't live up to their expectations. So I asked them how they navigated those areas if they hadn't changed at all. Did they hold the same philosophy that Dolly Parton did with her husband? I don't need him to change for me. I can work around it. What they told me was that maturity, honesty, and compromise are the keys. Are you both mature enough to respect each other's positions? Are you both honest about what you'd hoped for and how you feel around the topic? Here's an example of a conversation around a difficult topic. I have seen this, so don't poo-poo it. Let's say you imagine that you and your husband or wife were going to be a power couple. You were going to be building empires together. And you and future husband, future wife have complementary skills for a really fantastic business. And you really see it all in your head and you are ready for it. You hate your corporate job and you're ready to be untethered. So you bring this up to the person you've been dating, let's just say for a significant amount of time. And they say, nope, that is not for me. Oops. So let's assume this person checks off all of your other boxes, right? They are kind. They put you first in many situations. Their emotional intelligence is high. They view you as an equal. You share the same values. You have fun together. You get my point, right? But this one important piece of the pie is not on the plate. Now what? Hopefully you've already assessed why this is important to you, because that's huge. Does being in a business with your partner make you feel supported? Is that why you want it? You're like, hey, this would feel really good. Do you want your partner to be a part of your business because you're afraid you can't do it alone? Did your parents have a business together and it worked out beautifully and you want to recreate that in your own life? Are you afraid of being cheated on and you think if you're around your partner 24/7, you will have less anxiety? Do you want to live in a richer area, send your future children to good schools, and avoid the financial struggle you endured as a child? See, it could be a lot going on here. We aren't normally taught to be really honest with ourselves and to dig deep and really look at the desires that we have and what they represent to us. Doing that means taking responsibilities ourselves instead of expecting a romantic partner to figure out who we are and what we want and how to accommodate us without understanding our truth in the request. y'all maybe want to stop this part of the tape. Tape? Oh my God, how old am I? Of the episode and listen to that again. In this example, instead of having, let's say, an emotional outburst with your significant other, you could open a calm conversation that feels exploratory and respectful. Something like this. I've always imagined I'd start a business with my significant other, and you and I have so many complementary skills. In a few years, we could both escape the 9 to 5 and have more control over our time and our earning potential. Can you tell me why you wouldn't consider that? Okay. You see that you asked a question at the end of that, right? So this is the part where you really listen to the other person. Your goal is not to butt in and persuade and convince and manipulate and say, but. No, your goal here is just to listen. All right. So let's pretend he or she says, I like my job, although it doesn't pay a whole lot. It's fulfilling. And at 5 o'clock, I can leave it. I can enjoy my time. Honestly, the pressure of being a business owner, that sounds like hell to me. It's never been my dream. Ooh. So maybe in this moment, you're really taken aback. Like, wait, no. That is not the right answer. So maybe you just say something like, starting a business is incredibly important to me. Okay. If that's your truth, do not downplay it. Do not backpedal. Do not say, you know what? I was just kidding. I don't want to do that. What do you want for lunch? No, do not do that. What should you do though? I'm going to give you 2 examples of ways this conversation could go from here. Okay, so listen closely to both examples. The other person, then I think you should start a business. Hun, you'd be perfect calling your own shots. You've been held back at your job. I've been saying that to you all along, and you have so many skills and talents that you could be using. I support you every step of the way. I just don't want to be an active part of your business. Okay, that is that person stating their truth. Let's say their truth is this instead. This sounds like a problem to me. I really don't want a wife who's never available for our relationship or our family because her business is taking up every moment of her time. My parents divorced because my mom worked all the time and there was nothing left for the family because building a business requires intense sacrifice. Okay. The first answer leaves a wider door open for further discussion and possibly compromise. The other one seems to be an impasse. So in the second scenario, you could both dig deeper, do counseling, do all the stuff, if you want to be together. But if you're both being honest in your answers, this is the part where you have to make some hard decisions. If starting a business means more autonomy and freedom for you to travel and have the money for a particular lifestyle, while your significant other is saying he or she doesn't care about those things, that they are perfectly comfortable making a low to moderate salary at a job that they enjoy, right? That's important, without worrying about getting a heart attack from stress. And they don't want a wife who's a business owner. Do you see how this could be years of fighting and unhappiness? Sometimes, the best thing 2 people who are in love can do is walk away from each other. That's super hard, especially when other boxes are checked. It really comes down to how important is the thing that's on the table. If it's big life-altering stuff like starting a family, choosing a particular country to live in, starting a business, we already did that one, allowing elderly family members to live with the 2 of you, that comes up, especially if you're in that 40-year-old and beyond age range. That means your parents are 20 to 30 years older than you. That's going to come up. Raising your children in a certain faith. Oh, that can be a huge one. Believe it or not, even if one of you loves to travel and the other never wants an adventure beyond the local park, that can be really hard on a marriage. I've seen it. I've lived it. Luckily, my husband loves adventure as much as I do now. And so, yeah, it's fantastic. But these are things to talk about early. Don't imagine they will work themselves out later. They probably won't. Hey, I just want to take 2 seconds to cut in here and say, if this podcast is something that you're really enjoying, that you're learning things from, and you would like to support this podcast financially, it would be so wonderful. I would be very, very grateful. Go to womenbeingloved.com/podcast, where you can give a one-time gift of any amount you want. It could be $5, seriously. Or you can sign up to support monthly. Thank you so much. Going back to Dolly Parton's marriage, here's where I'm going to be really honest. Not having Paul with me at award shows would be hard. I do enjoy doing things on my own. Don't get me wrong. I like exploring new areas. I like getting lost. I've traveled to Spain for 5 weeks without my husband. He's gone to the Czech Republic without me. I don't need my husband by my side every waking moment. I'm not one of those people. However, if I was, say, going to the Golden Globes and I was being nominated, I would be really devastated if my husband wasn't coming with me. If I had to take photos on the red carpet without him, it would break my heart. But here's the thing. My husband is exactly like Dolly Parton's husband. He hates being the center of attention. He hates having his photos taken, but he is someone who would still come with me because he's just very much that type of person. We would have a conversation about how uncomfortable he is, and he would say, hey, let's find a way for you to have me there and be a part of your special night because I love you, without me losing my mind. So for us, the compromise would look something like he comes with me to the really big, most important events. And when he gives me the sign, whatever that is, that he's overwhelmed and he needs to leave, we leave. Or he leaves and I stay and I network, I enjoy my friends, I enjoy the evening, and I don't give him attitude about it later. Smaller industry events, I can go to with a girlfriend or my sister. And later, Paul and I would curl up on the sofa with glasses of wine and I would tell him all about my night, all the details, and he would listen and he would be excited for me. But he'd also be really glad that he didn't come because he doesn't enjoy those kinds of things as much as I do. Paul loves to hike. I am not really big on it, but every once in a while I suck it up and I go hiking with him. I do enjoy being in nature, so it's not torture for me. I just don't like the actual hiking part. But, I do it sometimes because it's important to him. But when I really don't have it in me to go, I'm honest, and he's okay with that. Every couple is going to have to work out their own solutions. This brings me back to maturity, honesty, and compromise. Not living up to every point on each other's love list doesn't have to make or break your future together. You do, however, have to work to determine if it does. That's what I have for today. Thank you for being here. I know we're all busy, and I am honored that you took time to be with me. Can I ask you one last favor before you hop off? If you enjoy this podcast, please share it with a single girlfriend who you think would also enjoy it. Thanks so much. That's it. I hope you have an amazing time until we meet again.